RouletteReader.wordpress.com.
I'm Dawn, and I blog at bangbangbookblog.com.
And today we are really, really, really excited to podcast our reviews of Gilded Cage by Vic James.
And not to be confused with The Gilded
Cage, right.
by somebody else.
Lucinda Gray, I believe.
And not to mistake her for Rick James, who is a 70s funk singer.
Poor Vic James.
I know.
So,
all right.
Let's... We'll go over kind of what we liked about it, what we disliked, and then, of course, we'll do our spoiler-free version, and then we'll finish up with our spoiler version. So, Dawn, take it away with a synopsis.
Okay. FYI, this book is published tomorrow.
Yes.
So if you are not sure if you want to get it, we're going to hopefully aid you in that decision. So the Gilded Cage, not The Gilded Cage, is a contemporary alternate universe London where all the citizens who are not equal, which are wealthy, influential, and magical, are required by law to participate in slave days, which means serving 10 years as a slave. And the story is about Abby Hadley. She was able to get her parents, her 17-year-old brother, and her 10-year-old sister to complete their slave days at the house of one of the most wealthiest families in London, the Jardines. Although two of the Jardine boys are powerful and quite harsh, the third brother is kind and has caught the eye of Abby. While servitude in the Jardine house is peaceful, there's an uprising in one of the slave towns, and the Jardines and the other wealthy families who make the laws will do anything to keep the slave days law. So that's basically what the book is about. As far as the Goodreads synopsis, I would say that it's a little misleading. It's because when I read the synopsis, I thought it was going to be a romance.
I did too.
But it's really not.
Mm-mm.
It's so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of glad of that. But there are some other things in the synopsis that are not quite answered in this book. So we think that maybe it's a synopsis for the entire series and not just book one.
Right. So keep that in mind as you're reading. This is definitely one of those books that it's not a slow build necessarily, but a lot of information is not really given to us by the end of this book.
Yeah.
And I liked that. I thought that she still wraps up the story well, because there is a definitive ending.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, a lot is going to happen in the second and third books, which is great. Like, you don't want to stuff all of your goodness into the first book. I feel like so many trilogies and series do that. So let's jump right into let's do what we disliked first.
Okay.
I think we have less dislikes than likes.
Yeah.
I'll let you start. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head.
Well, like I said, the synopsis does seem to set it up as a romance, and I kind of did not like the romance between Abby and Jenner.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like
it seemed out of place.
Yeah.
Like, what does she honestly expect to happen with that? I mean, like, I get it. Like, your emotions are different than reason sometimes. And I liked that Abby seemed to realize, like, when she shouldn't push that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was done okay. Like, she wasn't this stupid person walking around like, oh, love me.
Yeah.
She kind of moved on.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
But that whole romance is probably 5% of the book. It's not even a big plot point. So it's really small. And my only other dislike is that this family tree is quite dense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of people and a lot of hard names to pronounce, and it goes back several generations. And I read the arc, and so there's no family tree or a map or something. So, and I know that it's important to the plot.
Yeah. And
so I got confused by all the names, and so that's the only problem I really had with the book, was I just got kind of confused with all the family.
Yeah, I completely agree. This book really needs some kind of family tree or brief history of each, like, relative that's mentioned, something
a glossary, to kind of, an index, something.
Yeah, something to help you orient who the like, there's so many weird names, and the names make it difficult to keep track of who's who. One dislike that I had, and I know this is going to sound bad, but it really didn't bother me all that much. There are some plot holes in this book. There are some things that happen where once you finish the book, you're like, I don't think that that's going to get answered. So why was it there?
Mm-hmm.
Or we're too far gone, this is not going to change. And I'm going to save my specifics for the spoiler edition because I can't go into too much detail. It's about Jenner, one of the brothers. He has an interesting situation that's different from his other brothers. So I would think that would make certain circumstances different for him, but it doesn't. And there's also some issues of, like, the magical society is never really fleshed out, and it's like, I don't know, I would have liked a little bit more history about, like, why they thought the slave days was necessary to keep society functioning. One reviewer did make a good point that she felt like there could have been a different way to influence or have a revolution take place in a book without necessarily having to jump to this kind of a, like, societal institution, I guess. I don't know. She made a good point, but yeah, there's some plot holes.
Okay.
So I'll just say that. That was really it.
Yeah. So clearly, you know, we enjoyed the book a lot.
Yes.
So let's just go into what we liked.
Fantastic.
Go ahead.
Oddly enough, this book is really political. Normally, that is not something that I'm interested in reading at all. I typically shy away from, like, political books or, like, spy, military type books. I'm not really interested in that. But I thought Vic James did a really good job of positioning each politician and character within this book so that you care about what they're trying to do and, like, what is going on. There's a lot of mystery. It's not dry. It's not, oh God, they're trying to pass this bill, blah, blah, blah. It was very intriguing, very engaging, and she does this thing where she both reveals their power and their vulnerabilities, so there's a lot of great character development that's happening, and I don't feel like you usually get that with a political novel.
I think what she did, which she just coincidentally, this book happened to be coming out of what's happening with our society, but she's British, so I think the whole Brexit thing may have had something to contribute to the point that this book is making.
True.
But I think a lot of the political books that we read, it's just not like
really rooted in anything real.
Yeah,
yes.
And this is,
yes.
So it kind of felt like, you know, relatable, which I think is good for teens especially. We're adults, and, you know, we have more experience in a teen, but I think now with all of the protests and people who are kind of the lowly people, if you will, and not so much of the magical kind of the people with power, they have a voice and they can do something about it in large groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's relatable.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, protesting that happens in this book. It's very timely.
Yeah.
Very timely indeed.
Let's start with the time period of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's current. And it's a world as if slavery had not been abolished, but it just kind of evolved over time. It's like everything kind of evolves over time. So now, instead of born into slavery, you have to do 10 years if you are not a powerful person.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she talked about America and where America is in this time period.
I think she mentioned that we had abolished slavery. So we were not doing, like, the slave days or anything. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember that, to be honest.
Remember, but it's an interesting, she does, like, talk about where America is in this whole slavery situation.
She steps back and gives a global picture of what's going on.
And I believe that there's kind of a bit of a, ew, look what the Americans are doing. It's kind of it's not I can't remember exactly.
That's why I think that they abolished slavery, because the equals were not, like, wanting to go down that road.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. I cannot remember.
So, I think it's the 21st century now. They do talk about how there is no monarchy.
Mm-hmm.
The Windsor Castle was blown up and turned into Parliament or something like that. It's so bad. We read this book a couple months ago, sorry. We probably should have been better prepared.
Well, there's a lot that happens here, and sometimes, like, honestly, the time period and, like, certain small little details like that really don't, like, it's not something you need to keep in your mind necessarily. That, like, the time period, sure, but what happens to Windsor Castle, not so much.
No,
so it's one of those small world building details that you kind of just don't
remember.
But
it is in the instance of when we talk about Buddha. I want to talk about Buddha. We'll get into that, how the time period impacts the characters in the book.
Okay, I'll let you.
You want to go on for it?
I don't remember that at all.
No, it's just that it seems like, so Buddha is she's a woman. And she is from the wealthy family, but she doesn't have any power unless she marries into a man's powerful family, which seems to me that we're now back into even the 18th, 19th century, where women didn't have any power unless it was their husband. So I'm assuming Margaret Thatcher was never prime minister. They don't have a queen. So I think that this time period impacts women's rights and feminism.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why I see the time period being a big
that makes
factor.
sense. The fact that, you know, a while ago the monarchy was abolished, and therefore some of the other governmental positions that may have positively influenced things like women's rights wouldn't be there either. And yeah, time period makes sense. But I didn't remember that with Buddha. I just thought it was that she wanted more power, and she felt that she could get it by marrying Gavar. That's something we'd have to...
She seemed to be more oppressed than... She seemed like she did not want to marry him, but...
She didn't want to marry him because she doesn't care about him as a person, but she does care about what his family's position as one of the founding families can give her political career.
Yeah. But
so
I feel like women don't need to do that now. Not as much as...
No. But she could still... I don't know if it was like a confidence thing, like where she didn't think she could push herself to the next level unless she was connected to the Jardines. I didn't really read too much into that. But if that's the case, I kind of missed that a little bit. Next point.
All right, so let's go to the characters. This book is only 368 pages, and I have read 2 fantasy books that were about the same length.
Which really okay, I have to interrupt you for a second. The real book is 368 pages, but the arc is 255.
Yeah, that's weird.
So it's like, are we missing page after page after page?
It's
crazy.
I did notice that now that you say that.
Yeah. Because I just pulled the arc back up to, read some deep plot details that we forgot. And, 255 pages. That's unusual. So we'll have to grab the book when it comes in and, see.
All right.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
Because that would make a lot of sense if we're actually missing information.
But I don't feel like we were missing information from what I read.
The plot made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything, but who knows. That's a lot of pages, though.
Yeah, it is. But in some of the other fantasy books I've been reading, the character development has been quite lacking. Mm-hmm. And my solution to that in my reviews is that it needs to be longer. But in this case, with all of these characters, James really managed to make round characters. Mm-hmm. And they each had their own voice. You knew exactly who they were in a small amount of page numbers. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's go into Cillian, because he's a big character.
Cillian's character is probably the most mysterious. All of the Jardine brothers, we never really get the full picture of their character. There's a lot of backstory, there's a lot of history and mystery that we really don't get final answers to in this book. But we are given enough about Cillian to know he's up to something. Mm-hmm. And even that, we're like, okay, we start to know exactly what he's doing, but we don't really understand how it fits into the larger picture.
Yeah.
And that will come, I guess, in the later books. But is it a spoiler what he does with his aunt?
Yeah. Okay. So let's save that. But he does something really major that is the whole plot of the book.
Right.
But you don't know what his motive is.
Exactly. What does she have to do with anything?
And why is he trying to he basically wants to get... Well, I don't know if he wants to get slavery abolished, or is he just trying to cause mischief? Is he bored? We have no idea what his deal is.
He is playing both sides, that's for sure. He helps Luke, help this other character escape, and then, he's there when the final, conflict goes down in the end of the book, and we have no idea what side he's on. No. I loved the unreliability of his character.
And he's also got some magic, a lot of magic. And we also don't know the extent.
He reminds me of Kaz from Six of Crows.
Really?
Always one step ahead of everybody. Really genius. Never tells you what's going on.
Yeah.
And kind of snarky. Not snarky, but sarcastic and dry. I don't know. That's exactly how I felt he was a great character. I'm not saying he was a rewrite of Kaz. He was just, it kind of reminded me of another character that I like. Next one.
Jenner is the middle brother.
Did we say that Cillian's the youngest?
No, Cillian's the youngest.
Okay. Jenner's the next oldest. He's the middle brother.
And he has no power.
Right, he has no magic whatsoever, so he's skillless. And this is what I thought a plot hole was. I was like, if he's skillless, wouldn't that mean by law he's required to also do his slave days?
Well, his family's not going to let him do that. They make the laws, so they're not going to...
So what's the exception? But they never talk about that. That's what I'm saying. There's no ever discussion.
I think he's an embarrassment. Because he has no power.
So make him do his slave days.
Well, they're not going to do that.
I don't know. That didn't make sense to me. I was like, if he's not skilled, isn't that the That is the definition of
True.
someone having to do slave days.
That is true. I don't see that as a plot hole, but I see where you're coming from. But I kind of see that as, well, we're going to hide him in this house, and we're not going to let him out to embarrass the family.
He does have to do the more menial work for the family. Like, they give Jenner... So maybe that's, like, their version. I don't know.
True.
He's the one responsible for, like, organizing household staff, and he works with Abby, who is the commoner. They're called commoners. The commoner sister whose family works for them. So he does kind of just do the boring things that, like, Gavar and Cillian would never do.
Yeah.
So maybe that's his penance. I don't know.
Could be.
But yeah, we do get a little bit more information as to why Jenner is skillless, which we will go into in our spoiler edition if you want to still read the book and not have anything ruined. So, but I like Jenner. He was, out of the three brothers, the most compassionate, level-headed, kind of normal.
Yeah.
Definitely normal.
Gavar is the oldest, and he is an interesting character because in the beginning of the book, he is set up to be a monster.
For sure.
But he's quite redeemable. Mm-hmm. But then he's not.
Right.
He's also another character you're like, what is his motive here?
Yes. Yeah, in the first, it's like a prologue to the story where this girl is trying to run away, and
it's dark.
It's dark.
It
she's
really
carrying
sets
a
this book up.
baby, and
very dark.
She's like trying to clearly escape from something. And then Cillian comes out of nowhere and tells her, like, what are you doing? Like, what? You know that this is never going to happen. And she's essentially shot by Gavar, and nobody revives her.
Yeah. But he has this baby.
And they take,
and he loves this baby more than anything.
The baby, but he apparently does not love the mother at all. But
he
convinced.
He did love the mother.
He did at some point.
He did at some point.
Clearly doesn't anymore.
I think his father has something to do with it. He's always trying to live up to his father's expectations, and he just can't.
As the oldest son.
Yeah. So he has that conflict going within him. But he was a great character.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, when you first read about him, you're like, holy crap, this guy is the antagonist to the story. But then you find out that is not true, necessarily. Is it a spoiler to talk about Libby? Not Lily.
Yes, it is.
But we'll just say he has a daughter named Libby.
Yeah.
And that's who he was trying to grab from Leah. Leah was trying to run away from him with Libby. So, save the rest of that for spoilers.
Okay. We kind of talked about Abby. Do we need to talk about Barbara?
Not really.
Like she's fine.
Abby's the only character that I didn't really make a serious connection with.
I don't care about her.
She's not in the book that much.
No. She has her own chapters.
She does, and she does play an important role in, getting the family to the Jardine house and maintaining some of their stability, but we gotta talk about Daisy, too.
Who the heck is Daisy?
Oh, my God. The youngest sister.
Oh, Daisy, yeah.
So, like the Jenners, there's 3 siblings in the Hadley family. Abby's the oldest. Luke is the next one. He's the one that's been sent to Millmore, the work camp. And Daisy is the youngest child. She's like 10.
Mm-hmm.
And she is essentially charged with being Libby's nanny. And she develops this really serious, I was going to say really serious relationship with Gavar, but that's not what it's like at all. It's more like a father-daughter, like older brother, younger sister type relationship. She loves Libby, and Gavar sees how much she loves Libby, so he really respects and admires and loves Daisy.
And I think Daisy kind of humanizes Gavar.
Definitely.
She is the character that makes him human.
Absolutely.
And makes the reader like him a lot.
And Daisy herself as the character doesn't understand how much power she has. Like, she is keeping herself...
at the end.
I think
we
she
won't
does
say
at the
why.
end because she starts to... Oh,
Just skip it.
Yeah,
That's a spoiler.
Sorry about that. Almost. She does start to realize it, but I think at the same time, like, she's so good-hearted that she's not like, I'm in control here. Like, I don't think she's completely conscious of it, but she does know that Gavar cares for her in terms of what she's doing for his daughter. I found Daisy's character very interesting.
Yeah.
Like, she's super young, but you feel like she's kind of the more mature sister or sibling. Anyway, yeah, had to put that out there about Daisy.
Okay.
We can't let her go undiscussed.
Luke is the middle brother, and like you said, he's sent to the slave camp. And through Luke's eyes, we see how the slave camp is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And in my review, I kind of compared it to civil rights movement in the 60s. And yeah, In the 60s? Yeah.
Yep.
So, people were like, civil rights is good. Separate and equal is good. They have all they need. They have their food. They have somewhere to live. They have a job. But until it was actually televised with the water hoses, people didn't understand what was really happening. So I kind of feel like this is the same thing, where they're like, the skilled are like, they have food, they have a job, they're fine, they're slaves, but they're fine. They have all that they need, until it comes to light that this is bad.
Also, I don't think anyone was outright protesting until Luke got there and began getting involved with the secret society that's there. Luke's character had the most transformation, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, we see him as a normal teen who, at the beginning of the book, we see him as this normal teen who's really kind of insecure about his future. He's taking exams for college, and then next thing you know, everything's ripped out from under him, and he's being sent to this slave camp where he's essentially given up on life. He really goes through this period where he's, like, depressed. He's like, I have no idea how I'm gonna live out 10 years here. And then he begins to embrace his power as an individual when he gets with this group and kind of finds his purpose again. And then at the end, like, he falls prey to something else. And so, like, his character just went through this intense stretch of every direction that, like, a human probably could, in a fantasy book, be pulled. I really enjoyed reading about his character. Like, he's one of the most interesting characters to read about, I felt.
Yeah.
Anything else about Luke?
Nope.
Yeah.
And then there's some other minor characters. We kind of talked about Buddha already, and her drive.
Her personality was interesting.
She was a bitch, but I loved her. She was great.
She kind of reminds me of, like, a not crazy version of Kellyanne Conway. I don't know if that makes any sense, but, like, someone who's so ambitious that they will do freaking anything.
Yeah. Like, She made some good points, though, and you kind of feel bad for her.
Right, that's why I said she's not crazy, but she's definitely very, very, very driven. And even her motives, we're not really sure what's pushing her. What is she trying to do? So, she's a very interesting character.
Then there is Euterpe, which is their aunt, the brother's aunt.
Yeah.
And there's a whole... This book has, it is not a long book, but she packs a lot
she does.
into this small book.
She does. Euterpe essentially is the aunt of the Jardine boys, who's been in a coma for about 25 years. No one really knows why. She was in a relationship with Zelston Winterbourne, who's the prime minister of the equals, of society, really. He's also an equal. But then something happened, she went into a coma, excuse me, and she hasn't come out of it. So she's, like, laying in this bedroom in this house, and it's weird and creepy and, like, a little bit gothic. I loved it. And Cillian develops a very special relationship with her, which we'll go into.
I don't think it's a spoiler.
Later.
It's basically... Cillian has started this whole conversation of maybe we should abolish slavery, and the parliament has to vote on it. And the prime minister has said, I'm not going to do it. But then Cillian was like, well, I will get Euterpe out of her coma if you do. Euterpe is his love of his life. And he was like, okay, so Cillian has to figure out how to get her out. And so he kind of goes, one of his powers is he's able to go back into her head. It's weird.
He goes into her head. And Euterpe is in this suspended state of existence in her own mind inside the house. So we weren't sure if it was the house that's keeping her, like, in her coma, or if it's, like, physically her. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But it's cool at the same time because, like, Cillian goes and visits her so often. I think he was doing this before.
Oh, yeah, because she knows
it takes a lot of time.
She's like, oh, you're back to visit me.
Yeah. And then she finally realizes, like, why is he the only person that I ever see anymore? Because anytime that she starts to think about her past, or Zelston, or her sister, or her family, she gets this blinding headache, and she can't physically think about it anymore. So she goes back to thinking about something fun, like her dog, and what book she's going to read today, because it doesn't give her a headache.
Yeah.
So therefore, keeping her in this thing. So Cillian is acting as this agent to lead her out of that, and, like, helping her embrace that initial pain so that she can think about it. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, and she just kind of, like James, she kind of dumps you into that chapter, and you're like, wait, what the hell? What is happening here?
Because we've heard about Euterpe, and that she's in a coma, and suddenly her chapter's there, and we're like, huh?
What is this?
Yes.
But it all makes sense.
Oh my gosh, but that was one of my favorite chapters.
Yeah, it was great.
It was bizarre in all the best ways.
And then finally we have the Dog Man, which we won't get into. That was another bizarre. James, for some reason, likes to drop some weird shit.
This was the darkest thing I have probably ever read in a YA novel.
And it was weird because when they first go to the house, the Hadley family, they're like, there's this naked man on a leash. And they're like, and you forget about it for several chapters. And you're like, what about that man that was on that leash? What's that all about?
Yeah, this dude just is looking feral on this leash. Who owns him?
Somebody.
Thalia, Hypatia? I don't remember.
It's somebody related to them.
Again, we need a family tree. I think it's Euterpe's sister. But no, then that wouldn't make any sense because it would be their parents. We don't know. It's some relative.
Yeah. But we'll go into that in
yeah. So so this woman who owns this dog man is staying at their house, so he's, like, living in the pen, and the Hadleys are like, we gotta fix this. This is not right. This is inhumane. But then the, like, dog doesn't really want to be. It's weird. We'll go into that in the spoiler edition.
Okay, so, I like the title, now that we talked about all of the characters. So the title is Gilded Cage. And one thing we didn't talk about is the house. You kind of mentioned the house, and there's a gate around this big house. I kind of thought of Downton.
Yeah.
Just kind of pictured it. But the house keeps them there. Cillian and Jenner cannot leave the house.
Yeah, we never see them leave. It's knowledge that they can't actually. Sorry, I forgot that. Yeah, Gavar for some reason is the only one that leaves. And
there's a reason. But I can't remember what the reason is.
I don't think they say.
Did they not say?
No, I think that's one of those things that is not said.
Oh.
So that's what I noticed about this title is more of a Gilded Cage for the brothers than for, like, the Hadleys. The Hadleys are observing this phenomenon. But you also mentioned there's a bird on the cover.
Yeah, because Euterpe, the birds.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other thing with her coma and.
Yeah.
Doesn't he do something? He does something with the tree. Cillian does something with the tree, and it comes to. Never mind. Spoiler. So not only are the slaves in a cage, but you also have the family.
But
is
their
in
cage
this cage
is not gilded.
But still, they still have no freedom. He still can't leave that house.
Right. But theirs looks nicer, hence the Gilded Cage. Like it's their home. Like they can do things in their home, whereas the cage that the commoners are in is definitely not gilded.
Well, no, but I mean, it's just a metaphor.
Yeah.
I feel like there was something else. Well, we didn't really talk about maybe that's a spoiler. Yeah, that's a spoiler. So the whole thing about Luke, it's two stories. You have the story of the magic people and the Parliament, and they're trying to get rid of slavery, and then you have the perspective of the slaves and Luke and his revolt and all of that.
Trying to push for this vote to go through. Yeah. We'll save that for.
Yeah.
Let's move into spoiler edition.
Well, I just want to say that this was not what I was expecting.
Not at all.
And if you are expecting a fluffy fantasy, this ain't it. It has got some serious subjects. Feminism and love and power and oppression, and it was very thrilling. Like I don't know, I can't remember the specific parts. I don't know if it was the revolting part, not the revolting as in gross, but the slave revolt part. The beginning has some really thrilling parts with Luke and his circumstance, and are they going to get out? I was like really like, I had to like put the book down for a second because I was getting worked up. Yeah. It was like really thrilling. I was like, oh God. Oh, okay. I had to take a breath, and it was exciting.
Yes. This book carries the momentum all the way throughout the end, and then at the end you're like, oh my God. Yeah. The ending was amazing. Unbelievably stunning.
So, I gave it a 4. I originally gave it a 4.5. I'm going to up it to a 4.75, and the only reason is because of the no family tree. And I know it's important, and it was confusing enough for me to drop it down a quarter of a point.
I gave it a straight 5.
Yeah.
I put this in my favorites. which I never do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, it's good. All right, so we highly recommend Gilded Cage by Vic James. It comes out tomorrow, what month are we in?
Woo!
February 14th. I have a feeling it's going to get lost. This is one of those books that publishers unfortunately do not push, and I hate that. But it is a great book if you are a librarian. Highly, highly recommend that you push this on your teens, especially now. It is quite contemporary. So yeah, if you want to listen to the spoiler edition, we are going to start that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let's get it.
Okay. Okay, so we didn't really talk about the doctor.
No, I forgot.
And
yes.
Angel.
Yes.
I freaking knew that Buddha's sister. I was like,
I had no
what?
Clue.
She's
I had
blonde and
no
just
clue.
like extremely vapid for no reason.
Yeah.
I'm like, they keep bringing this girl up. Why is she important? I was like, I bet she's Angel.
I didn't at all. I didn't call that
it
whatsoever. I was actually distracted by the fact that they kept, during Parliament, they kept pointing out that this one parliamentary member was like unable to make it today, or only his mom's here, and I did not even connect the two of them together just because I don't know, I didn't think that was where that was going to go. And then you find out that parliamentary member is pretending to be this doctor in the slave camps, and he's like working up a revolution because he's one of the few parliamentarians that does want slavery abolished. There's only like 5 that we know of.
I feel like it was only one. It was his mother.
It's Rick's, his mother, Mylar, who's Dr. Jackson, Budina, and kind of Cillian. Also,
but Cillian's not in the Parliament.
So,
You're talking about characters or in the
Westerborn.
Parliament?
I'm talking about, well, first I was talking about characters, but Cillian's definitely influencing one way or another. Again,
we don't know if he's
what that
for it.
is. Yeah, we still don't know what that is. But there are some members that do not want it. But only 2 are actually voting against it, which is interesting. So, yeah, I didn't call that at all.
Yeah. That was, and I wasn't like, oh, this is so predictable. It was like, yes, vindication, I was right.
Yeah.
That was exciting at the end when you find out that he was like, that's Angel, Luke, and...
sometimes I'm good at, like, figuring out where something's gonna go, but this book got me. I'm reading that
I was
last
shocked
part
that you
where
didn't
I was
catch
like,
it.
oh my god.
Because you weren't mentioning it as you were, like, texting me. I'm like, she ain't even seeing it.
No, I haven't. No, I did not at all.
While we're talking about Luke, we were kind of figuring out if he was set up from the beginning. Like, because in the beginning of the book, Abby has had her whole family, like, doing a great slave days. And you're like, Luke is ready to go. And then at the last second, he's like, nope, you're going to the camp. So, you brought up a good point of, how far back was this set up?
Right.
Was he set up to go to the camp to help with the revolution because his family was going to be at the Jardine house? He talked about how he's being used the entire time, poor guy. So that's why he goes through.
And even you as the reader are so unaware of what forces are actually working against Luke. And maybe that, again, is why this book is called Gilded Cage, because he doesn't even understand the fact that he's being used. He thinks that he's gaining freedom. He thinks that he's, like, moving towards independence, but he's not at all.
No.
So first, he's stressed about his exams, and then, when he goes to the slave camp, he's strategically positioned to join this revolutionary secret club.
Yeah, she finds him, the girl.
Right.
She finds him.
She like puts herself in his way and like makes him interested in why she's there, and oh, by the way, if you're interested, there's a club. It's like, I should have seen that coming too. Like,
I didn't
really,
until
of all
you
the people
said
in this
something like
camp,
20 minutes ago. I didn't even catch it.
I mean, really, me
Like,
neither.
oh.
I was writing my review and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then once so Luke is eventually able to leave the slave camp because of his sister Daisy's influence on Gavar. So Daisy asks Gavar to get her brother out, and he does, because he's like, yes, I owe this girl the world. So Luke is then brought to, what is their house called?
I don't know.
Keinston?
Downton.
Keinston. It's like something like that. And even then, he's like, okay, I'm with my family. I think I got this. Then he starts getting involved with the dog man, and he kind of learns that, like, nothing is ever what it seems with these people. their power and influence is so vast that they have all the resources at their fingertips to literally do whatever they want. And he learns that firsthand. Because then at the last party, he's physically overtaken by this rich person, Lord Rix, to shoot the father of the Jardine family.
Yeah.
Therefore ensuring that slavery is abolished, because he was one of the main outspoken opponents. And you're just reading this like, well, this poor kid.
Well, I got excited. I was like, yes, but of course that can't happen. He's going to shoot the guy
because
he's a horrible person.
Cillian just let him know. It's like Cillian frickin' knew. You're going to need this information. You can't kill anybody in this family. We're all under a protection. You physically can't even do it. Literally the chapter before. And I'm like, damn it, Cillian. He knew. And, that's what Cillian does. He, slowly gives you information as you need. And that's, the unreliability of his character. He's so withholding. He knows all.
Yeah.
Somehow.
But then, I feel like...
we don't even know the vastness of his own power.
No, we don't.
Not yet.
I'll go back to that in a second.
Yeah.
Well, staying on Luke, and I'm pretty sure this is not a plot hole, because if it is, it's gaping. It's did Rick want him to shoot the dad as even though he can't, did Rick even know that there's a protection or not?
We don't know if other equal families have also placed a protection upon themselves because the whole reason that happened with the Jardines is some revolt happened a long time ago, and then they placed a protection upon themselves so that no servant can rise up against them like happened before. So we don't know. Again, it's not explained, and I hope it's not a plot hole. But do other equal families also have this protection on them?
Well, clearly not, because the Prime Minister doesn't.
Right. And, Luke doesn't work for him.
Oh.
That's the thing. It's whoever works for that family. So how would Lord Rix not know about this?
He either did or he didn't.
Did he not? We don't know how that.
It's like he's sending a signal to the dad, or he's like, "Whoops, sorry, I didn't know.
Right,
my bad."
Because Luke was under his power, he couldn't say anything to him because all he could do was point the gun at this guy. But then, because of the protection, the gun was forced to be moved away from him and onto someone else, thus killing Zelston Winterborn, who finally got the love of his life back, hours before. It's so sad. That ending shook me up.
It was really sad.
Oh my god. And, of course, Euterpe freaks out. I'm surprised she didn't go into a second coma.
Yeah.
Because that's another really traumatic...
Did she blow up the house?
Yeah, she did.
She blew up the house.
She blew up the house.
Yeah.
Yep.
So going back to Cillian and his power, he can bring stuff back to life that are dead? Or something.
He can't bring them back to life if they're dead, but he can influence their... Because remember in the beginning when Leah's dying, Jenner's like, dude, do something. He's like, I can't, she's dead. But she wasn't.
I don't remember that.
He's like, I can't even raise the dead man.
What did he do to the pony or something? It was some kind of an animal that he, revived or...
Yeah, I don't know. He can definitely heal, and his healing powers are extreme, but he can't, raise from the dead. Well, there has to be life present.
Okay, because I know that Abby was very interested in him because she's into science, and she saw him, do something, miraculous, and she's like, wow.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah. It's something to do with a tree or by a tree or something. I feel like a horrible podcaster.
No, it's okay.
Okay, Libby. Libby has powers too. The daughter. The baby.
Yeah, Gavar is unsure if Libby has powers because she's literally a baby. So it's a little too soon to tell. But that's why he's so intent on getting her back from Leah in the beginning of the book. Because he wants to make sure that, his heir has powers. But we find out that she does because Cillian tells Leah as she's dying, interesting, your child has the blood to open the gate, but not the power to use it. So we know right off the bat, Libby is magical.
So if Libby has the power, she has the blood to open the gate, so I wonder if that's how he can get out then. Because that gate is something. The gate is holding him in that house.
Right.
The gate has some kind of a power. So maybe she's the key to that gate in that house. Wow.
And I feel like even Gavar can only leave with the permission of his father. Because remember when he had to go to Millmore, it was because his dad sent him. So I don't even think Gavar can leave on his own.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I need to take better notes.
Me too.
I'm going to have to read that book over again.
Well, I had no idea going into this book that it was going to be so dense.
Oh, I didn't either. I'm like, this looks interesting. What's this about?
And when you're reading, you're like, page turning. There's no time to stop. You're just like, I gotta get to the next chapter. But yeah.
Were we gonna say something more about Euterpe?
I think we kind of already said it. She
Yeah.
comes out of her coma, and she
has a
plays a
power,
part, but we don't know quite what her role in the story is yet. She is pushing for Luke's prosecution because obviously he killed the love of her life. And she is, again, a very influential member of the Equals, so she will probably get her way. So at the end, Luke was told by Lord Rix that his sacrifice will not be in vain. And so I think Dr. Jackson, aka Mylar, this Equal, steps up to confess like what was going on in hopes of like clearing Luke's name, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So Mylar loses his powers, and Luke is still prosecuted.
So that's another part of the story. Is that going
people
back
can
to Jenner?
Take power.
Yes,
right.
Jenner is powerless.
Right.
And there was another, what was his name? Sarcophagus or Sarasota?
Oh,
his ancestor also didn't have any power.
Sausagenes?
Sausages?
Sausagenes, I think his name was. Oh my god. It's like all these crazy Latin, like, Greek names. It's weird. Yeah. Sausagenes, I think
And
his
he
name
didn't
was.
have power either.
Right.
So we're thinking, I was thinking maybe their dad is siphoning their power from them. Somebody is taking their power from them. And that's why Jenner doesn't have any power. But then the guy who's in charge of the prison, he's a good time.
Right. Lord
he
Croven.
just like took that man's power, and that's like the ultimate worst thing you could do to a magical person is take away their power. Yeah. That I hope part of the next book is in that prison, because that looks like a fun time.
But didn't something happen to Lord Croven too, where like he was punished or something?
I think so.
So, like, who was in charge of that
Who was siphoning the power? Who took the power?
We don't know. We have no idea.
Okay.
We have no clue. It would make sense that it was the Jardine father, because he's now head of parliament.
Okay.
So,
there
is a lot of questions at the end of this book, but it's, like, good. Like, oh, good, book 2 is going to be really strong. Or, like, you know, we've got more to look forward to. Not like, wait, I should have had that already. Or, you know, it made sense the way she wrote this book. I hate a badly paced novel, and this was really well paced.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have anything else to add. I think we've kind of summed it up. This book is fantastic. Read it if you dare.
Well, we already spelled it for you, so.
Some people don't mind.
Okay.
I mean, who knows?
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll be back sometime next week. Not sure what the book's going to be, but
we will be back.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, and have a great day.